What is going on, DJ Nation? It is me, Byron Lindeque, bringing this week's Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, sponsored by DraftKings. Please use code FGD when signing up as a first-time depositor. We would really appreciate your support on that front. And, as always, we are brought to you by the man of the moment on a bit of a heater. We are looking at one win 3 weeks ago, another win last week, and a win at the Houston Open. That's 3 on the trot for Kenny motherfucking Kim. What's going on, Kenny Kim?
Yeah, it's nice being on a little heater. It hasn't all been good. I played golf yesterday. I had to tweak my back. I think I hit a root when I was in the trees. Fucked up my back. I woke up this morning. It was pretty bad. So luckily, in honor of Tiger Woods, I went ahead and took some pain meds. I mean, they're 4-year-old Percocets, but they're definitely still working. So, so you should never drive inebriated on stuff like this. But doing a podcast should be okay.
We are going to drive you to the promised land. So stay seated, buckle the hell up, people. We're going to be hitting some turbulence potentially, but it's the Valero. We're going to be hot to heavy. We've got DFS, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. We've got best bets. We've got course previews. We've got a recap of last week's Houston Open. We've got it all for you. And by the way, next week is the Masters tournament. So be sure to churn in. Subscribe to all the Mayo media platforms, wherever you listen. Make sure you're downloading those so we can get those beautiful, wonderful analytics pumping like Tiger Woods on 85 miles per hour in a residential area. Lots of fun to be had. We'll see how it goes. Kenny, don't worry about it. You know, we all love the man. He can get away with just about anything, it seems. So we'll go from there. Where do you want to start this wonderful show today, Kenny Kim?
Talk about Tiger to start. I mean,
Let's
it's
do
bigger
it.
than 3 wins that I've had. Right? It's a bigger story.
Sorry,
It's
3 wins
bigger
that
than
you've had?
what?
3 wins on the trot?
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I've had 3 wins in the last 3 weeks. It's bigger than that. Let's talk about Tiger.
3 wins
Everyone
in a row?
knows, Hey, what are you talking about, brother?
No, I'm just trying to hype you up for 3 wins in a row, my friend.
Oh, okay.
I'm just giving you
All
some.
right. Well, again, I'm sort of cloudy up here, right? I feel great. I feel a lot better than I did this morning when I could barely move. So, I sort of get it. But let's talk about Tiger. He was on the same shit that I'm on, supposedly, right? Right now. I mean, he didn't he wrecked his car, blew 0-0, so it wasn't alcohol. Wouldn't take a piss test. Now, there could be many different reasons why he didn't want to do that. But the obvious ones would be that, he didn't want people to know that he was on so many painkillers and stuff like that. For most people, this is the last straw, right? I mean, this sort of becomes, it's not a thing that he's done once and it's a mistake. It's minimum 3 times now where he's gotten into a wreck or something where the rumors have sort of gotten about where he might be inebriated when he was driving. You see him on TGL with the puffed face, with the constant sweating. It's pretty, you can make an assumption that it's an opioid addiction, right? And the people that are saying, this is the last straw, he should go to jail. His career is tainted by this. Like, people are saying, like, why do you still like Tiger? Why do you still root for him? Why do you still give him the benefit of the doubt? The people that are saying that are like normal people. They are like, that is the correct reaction to have in this situation. But this is sports. And the thing about sports, follow me here, is like when you're a diehard fan, it's almost like a mental illness. Very similar to a mental illness. Just think about it for a second. Think about addiction. Think about drugs, right? When you do drugs, you get it instantly, you inhale it, you inject it, you snort it, you do whatever, and immediately you get your reward, right? Immediately you get your reward, you get high, right? Being a diehard sports fan you go through like your loyalty is based upon like your teams. Like I was a Commanders fan for so long, right? And for 40 years, I've been a Commanders fan. I've been through all the ups and downs. I consider myself, a diehard where, at some points in my life, it affected my life, right? When the Redskins lost, it would just be a shitty couple of days for me, and stuff like that, right? So as a sports fan, a diehard, you go through all these lows and you get an occasional high, but sometimes there is no high, right? You're literally just rooting for a losing fucking team that sucks like all the fucking time. Yet you still come back year in and year out and still root for this team and still have emotion for this team. It's a sickness. Like if people look at it from the outside who are not sports fans, they're like, what are you doing? Right? All right. Like, why are you making yourself go through all this? Right? It's like a mental illness, right? And so growing up, there's a certain group of guys born from like 75 to 1990, right? And in that time, is when I started becoming a sports fan, when Tiger first started coming out. And, you get that little bit of a high. Like the high, like, okay, as most of you guys will know, I have dabbled in different stuff that can get me in an elevated state, right? The highest I've ever been in my life was when the Caps won Stanley Cup. Like being a Capitals fan for 30 plus years and seeing heartbreak, everything that you've gone through, all the emotions, all the tears, all the sweat, as put it, even money going to games, right? You put in there, and finally it happens. Finally, they get that win, and that joy, that high, is a better feeling than any of the drugs I've ever done in my life. Okay, so at that point in time, when Tiger was going up and he was starting, you started rooting for him. And me personally, being a sports fan, it was horrible. It was just such a bad time to root for the teams that I've rooted for. And then you go to Tiger, right? And he wins, and he's amazing, and he makes the game fun to watch. And you get that sort of high when he wins, and he won often, right? So people fell in love with him, right? And when you fall in love with a team, when you fall in love with an athlete, okay, it's similar to falling in love with a person or something like that, or being loving your family members. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's similar, because what can happen in a situation is because the love outweighs common sense, right? Like you have a brother who's just a fuck up, who's constantly getting arrested, who's in and out of rehab, who's constantly doing stuff. You make excuses for him, right? You do what you can, and you end up making excuses for him because you love him, right? That's where the fans that are making the excuses for Tiger, who's saying, well, it's not proven that he's on painkillers. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Like honestly, those are like crazy things to say in the situation because of what Tiger has done. Multiple times. But the thing is, you got to realize is like even I'm included in that group where I'm probably giving him a pass. Like if he doesn't go to jail, I'd be happy. Right? You shouldn't really think like that in a situation like this. But if it was like any other athlete, right? For people on our like thinking the way I'm thinking. For people that are, if it was another athlete, you did the same thing and you weren't a fan, you'd be like, that guy deserves to go to jail. Even if it's not a celebrity, even if it's like Joe Schmo from 3 towns away, and you hear in the newspaper that this is his 3rd conviction, even though that's not what happened to Tiger, but I'm just giving a point. It's his 3rd conviction of a DUI. Like, put that motherfucker in jail. He's going to kill somebody. He's lucky he hasn't done it yet, right? But because of the feelings we've had for certain athletes, certain teams, you give them passes. You give them an excuse. I'm not saying it's right. Like I said, it's a sickness, right? Because 99.99% of the time in that situation with anybody else, you're on the side of the normal people who are calling him out, saying he should go to jail, saying he should be punished. That's the correct way to be thinking. But sometimes in sports, you just don't think like that because you're a sports fan. You're a diehard sports. It's like a mental illness. You're a diehard sports fan. And even though I should not be making excuses for Tiger, even though I should not be feeling sorry for Tiger, I do. I do. It's sad what he's become. Um, I just hope that sometimes you need to go to like the bottom of the barrel. Maybe he does need to go spend a few days in jail. Um, you know, maybe he does. Maybe that'll wake him up. But the thing about it is it's addiction, right? And it's such a hard thing to get out of, especially the way I think about it and why I still love him, why he's always going to be my favorite golfer, still, even with all of this, is because, again, this is an excuse that I'm making for him, which I should not be making for him if I was mentally sane. But I'm a diehard sports fan. I'm not mentally sane, right? He put his body on the line for our entertainment, right? And, after his first surgery, he takes, he's had like 20 surgeries, right? Like after every one, he's going to be prescribed narcotics. That's just the way our health system works to deal with pain. So it's not shocking that he's addicted or could be addicted to painkillers. And it's very, very hard to get off. And especially when you're still living in constant pain. He had his Achilles surgery a year and a half ago. Right? Again, none of this gives him the right to go out and put people's lives in danger, put himself in danger. And the people that are asking for his scalp, I can't argue against. But for me, I love him. He's one of my favorite athletes of all time. And I just feel sad. I feel sad for him.
So if you had a loved one, Kenny, walking on the side of the road and Tiger wipes them out at 80 miles an hour in a residential area,
which easily could have happened. Not just the loved one for me, anybody. It easily could have happened. It very easily could have happened. But because I'm mentally insane, I'm still gonna love Tiger. I'm not saying this is a good thing. This is like I'm being like sort of serious about this. Like, when you get into like sports fandom and it affects your life and stuff like that, I mean, it makes you not think straight sometimes, right? that just some people, when they get into sports, that's the way they think. And when they have a favorite athlete, that's the way they think. It is not the right way to think in this situation. But that's the way I am.
Yep.
That's the I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not thinking the way I should be thinking. And a lot of people, not a lot. It's a lot smaller now than it was. Because rightfully so, a lot of people were like, this is probably it for me. For being a fan of Tiger. Right? And I can't argue against that.
Yep. I've got nothing good to say about the situation.
You shouldn't.
So I'm not going to go and slander the man. I would if I continue to speak about it. I think this is the real world we live in, and we should all be dealt with fairly. And just because you're a superstar doesn't mean that you can take away other people's stars. And he's on the verge of doing that. Who knows how many times he's done this without
he's done it thousands of times.
And it's his decision.
Yeah.
Like, I get being an addict. That's something that I'm not going to attest to, but I get being a dumbass because I know when I've been drinking, when I should or should not be climbing behind the wheel. Like, there's a certain point when you're not able to drive a vehicle, and it just takes a bit of common sense and respect for the people that you're around. And he's got zero self-respect, zero respect for anyone around him.
Most addicts don't, bro.
So, it's tough. And I think there's more than enough people around him that love him and want to probably help him, but it doesn't seem like he's willing to accept that love or help. Who the
But
hell
like,
knows?
what
But
help can he get at this situation? Here's the thing. Like, again, I'm talking, the side I'm taking is not the right side. Okay. But what can he do when you're living with pain?
you chop your leg off.
Really? That's the solution?
Yeah, because he's he the they were, I think, suggesting that they needed to amputate his leg. And I promise you now that
Well,
he wants
this
to still play
amputation
golf.
way before the leg. It just, it just continued.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
sure. But 2021 car accident, when he was the bottom of the canyon, was the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion. Ramping across the other road into, who knows where. And they were recommending to amputate the leg because that leg is just it's an omelet. It's just being held together by the sleeve and whatever else is in there. And it's likely because he wants to continue competing because that's his identity, essentially. Right. And we all get why that's the case. It's what he is, it's who he is, it's what he's always been. But, unfortunately, at some point in your life, you're just not who you used to be, man. And you got to find a new path in life. And he's just not choosing it yet. And the path he's deciding to stay on is getting way more dangerous every single day, And
I don't think it's choice at this point in time. It's just by taking over. It's just
yeah,
that's the way
yeah,
he lives, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and I've been there. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I really can't talk about shit. Or I mean, like nowadays, I don't really drink and drive. I mean, the closest I would get is I have a few beers at the clubhouse or my golf course and drive home the 3/4 of a mile. And even that is wrong. But
yeah,
other than that, like, like I've, I can't really talk shit because I've driven maybe thousands of times in my life, right? Like, I know once I hit like 40, I basically cut it all off. And I know that, I got lucky. I didn't kill anybody, that I didn't get arrested, that I never went to jail. So, it's sort of hypocritical to me to really talk down on him. But of course, it's not a good thing that he shouldn't be doing it. You know what I'm saying? He shouldn't be doing.
yeah,
No
yeah,
doubt. I mean, I can make as many excuses as I want, because I love Tiger Woods. But in reality, like you're saying, what your train of thought is, Byron, is the correct way people should be thinking. It is the normal way people should be thinking.
yeah. It is the normal way people should be thinking. So it's good. It's good to know that.
Now, I don't think that way. So
Evidently.
that's
Yeah,
my issue. That's my issue.
yeah.
Yep.
Anything
Uh,
else, Kenny?
what?
Anything else on that?
No, let's go something a little bit more uplifting. For me, it's just a really, really sad story. And it fucking sucks. So let's talk about the Houston Open. Third win in a row.
Yeah, hey, is that 3 wins
Solid.
in a row?
I think maybe the last time it happened, I think was maybe when Tiger won Zozo, right? But in
Wow.
that area, in
Time's a
that
flat
time
circle, huh?
frame, that's when I think that's when I hit 7 out of 12, and I think there was a three in a row, uh, in there at some point in time. And so I think this is my second 3 weeks in a row that I've hit. But that was like when we first started the betting segment. The first 4 years of the show was almost all DFS. So I sort of bring that to like beginner's luck, because I think that's true in a gambling sense. When you don't know what you're doing, you're just picking guys. It seems like, in the beginning, it seems like it's a lot easier, right? And then when we start grinding and really focusing, it seems like it gets more difficult after a while. But it was nice to get Woodland, and that story with Woodland is a great story. It's something that we can look upon and be happy and be proud that this happened in a sport that we love. Unlike what happened to Tiger. Everyone knows he had the surgery. He had the brain lesions
Tumor.
where,
Yeah.
where it looked like he was scared, or he felt scared all the time, and diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome. Basically, like it was, even on the course, like loud noises, stuff like that would really fuck him up in his play. And so he talked to the tour. They made some adjustments around him and stuff like that, which I thought was really, really cool, to try and make it easier for him to continue playing. And then, of course, he had that interview a couple of weeks ago where he just bared it all, like what was going on. And it was very, very ballsy by him because, as men in our society nowadays, you know, we're supposed to bottle up our feelings, right? Talking about our feelings, talking about our issues can make you have a label as being soft, right? And that's just where we are in our society when it comes to men. And so for him to do that took a lot of balls, right? Because it's not like me telling my boys like my issues. It's him telling the world his issues. Millions upon millions upon
Millions.
millions of people. And that's just something that you don't see very often. And I don't know if it helped him win, but it sure felt like it, right? It sure felt like that after that interview, he went out and had a good performance, the week before his victory, and like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. And he came out this week and basically was near the top of the leaderboard every day. And then on Sunday, of course, what we've seen recently with golfers sort of melting down, he did not. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that what he did with that interview and what he's been dealing with these health issues that he's been having has been way more difficult mentally for him than trying to win a golf thing. And so he went through it, and the mental aspect was easy. He just had to get the physical part done, and oh boy, he's just smoking that drive. He looked totally in control the entire Sunday. No one really came close. It was a great win for him. Great win for golf. It sort of sucks that it was overshadowed by the Tiger news because this deserves its own subset of glory. And comeback player of the year. It deserves all the accolades. It deserves all the press that he's got. So kudos to Gary Woodland and his win. It was very, very uplifting to see him get that done.
It was incredible. And, like the first thing I think he said in the interview was, if there's anyone out there dealing with PTSD, you can beat that bitch. Like you can make it your bitch. And he proved it. Like, Jesus, that's just like it's insane to think about, man. Like to go through all of that, I deal with like anxiety and stuff, my personal life, and it's insane to think when you are under the gun, like when you are in some of the most intense pressure that you can find, especially with a lead. Like he was constantly at the top of the leaderboard. It wasn't like he came from nowhere and just won the damn thing. Like that leaderboard pressure weighs on you, and you could constantly see him like touching his heart. Like when when you could see his heart racing. That's what he mentioned in the presser, like that his heart races, and now he's like really just focusing on maintaining a calm persona, because he had a flare up on the final nine of Friday, where a couple spectators like freaked him out. They did nothing wrong, but they just got a little too close to him, and it like flared up his hypervigilancy, which he has. And he balled out, man. I think he shot like 4 under par on that night, which is insane to think about. Like so just by like staying super zoned in on being present and like maintaining control of your nervous system and things, I think it really helped him. And I didn't think it would help him at all. Like it could have easily, you could have easily seen him. Thank God we didn't. Like we could have seen him unravel. Like which would have been heartbreaking to see, and he didn't. Man, that guy's got such a fucking backbone. It's incredible. So to put everything like he has on the line and out there, I think he's going to make big changes in the world, man. That win means nothing to him. I think the change he's implementing for people that have what he has, I think he's way more proud about what that did to inspire others than to win a golf tournament. Like he's a US Open champ. It's peanuts to him. But the significance of the outcome is what matters to him. So it's awesome. Congrats to Gary. Shout out Nikolai Højgaard, my outright. He beat everyone else in the field except for your boy Kenny. So
Did you
it's
play the each way?
yeah, I had the top five, and um,
There you go.
yeah, hit the top five there, and then I had Chris Goddard up. I added after round three for a top five, and Yala Mirage,
That's
who I
right.
bet prior to the tournament for a top five, and then Minwoo Lee kicked them to T6 both.
Nah,
So fun times over there. But placement markets, I was profitable. I preached about sticking to my lane, doing what I'm best at. I profited in the placement markets. Like first round leaders and outrights cost me a couple units. Lost zero point 0.9 overall on the week, but I was profitable in the placements, the stuff that I'm good at. So going to continue that element of golf betting, kind of focusing on the placement side of things. The stuff that doesn't, you don't lose a bet because of one particular person. You still got space to have Gary Woodland shoot minus 21 and still cash a top five, top 10, whatever you're going with. So lots to be proud about, lots to look forward to at the Valero. Um, we had what? Nelly Corder lose to, I don't even know the girl's
HJ
name,
came
but
again. Back-to-back
but
weeks,
she
first
is
and second.
she is cooking, dude. She shot two
So
sixty
HJ or
ones in the
Nelly?
same week.
HJ or Nelly?
HJ.
HJ or Nelly?
HJ shot two 61s, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't hear what you said. So, yeah, I mean, like it's pretty crazy that they came in first and second back to back. Um,
Yeah.
back to back weeks. You don't see that often. Nelly's got to go and take down the Korean here at some point in time. Um, yeah. For me, like I said, I had the Woodland out, right. Thorpe, you know, he needed a top five to make the Masters. He was in third going into Sunday. Little bit pressure. He's young.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Sometimes you just, it
Over and
takes a
over for
while.
him.
It
Yeah.
takes a while for you, or it takes multiple times for you to be in that situation to be able to come through. That's not an abnormal thing in golf. I'm
No.
not worried about that for Thorpe this week. But again, it's something that you need to look at. And he was also a guy I bet. He didn't get the place. I didn't get any placements each ways other than the Woodland. I had Adam Scott, who was right there. He sort of faded on Sunday. Um, so, thank God for outrights for me, at least. Now, I will say, when you're hot, you're hot. My cash lineup won for the seventh time in 9 weeks, with a 4 of 6. Kepka and Rasmus Norgard Peterson were a couple of my cash game cornerstones. They missed the cut.
Still cashed.
Still cashed.
Let's go.
And again, I gave the lineup out last week, and I had Woodland in. So when you have the winner, 4 of 6, you could still get it done, right?
Yeah.
The only two double ups I didn't cash in were the $5 non-single entry double ups that I played. Everything else is single entry. And I had cashed. So I didn't get the full payout, but like I got what? I bet like 170 in cash. So I got 320 back.
Huh.
Instead of 340. Still win. Still win. Still solid. I would love to get a win this week. Make it 8 of 10, because 8 of 10, 80% win percentage is like elite in cash.
It's good stuff.
Like a lot of the times when I'm here, like I've had people offer me to write for them, to be on betting things. I sort of don't believe I should do it, because I don't think that I'm as good as everybody else who's out in this content space, right? I'm just a fucking guy who comes out here and bullshits about golf and gets lucky, is what I normally think. Now, of course, cash I've been sort of good at for the whole duration, but it's nice to get to reach certain goals, to get to a point where you feel like maybe you do, I think if you're an average player to even slightly above average, having a show is fine, right? But sometimes I just think about that, right? And so it's nice having this nice little run. Gives me a little bit of confidence going into the rest of the season and making my plays and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. 4 in a row. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many times I've seen that from anybody out there. So it's gonna be a tough road. But we'll try. But the 8 out of 10 in cash, I think that's doable. So especially with the
Maybe.
lineup I have this week, it's already made. I'll give it out to you again, even with my cash game cornerstones. So we'll see how that goes for this week.
Let's go, dude. It's awesome. As much as I struggle hitting outrights, it's insane to see you hit three in a row. Like that. It's incomprehensible to me. It's unbelievable. So congrats on that, dude. It's really, really impressive. I got mad respect for that for you. So congrats one more time to you there. Um, Interesting thing I noticed, I bet Harris English top 30, and that has cashed 7 of 8 times this year. He missed the cut at the Players. He has cashed that top 30 7 of 8 times. He's cashed the top 20 0 times. It's just super interesting. Like trying to find these. Sometimes these are trends, sometimes they don't make sense, but I think there's definitely something to be said about like leaderboard comfortability. Like finding your the soft spot of a leaderboard where you just happy to be. Like these are professionals. We trying to hit the outrights on them. Some of these guys are just out there to make some paychecks. And I know they're all trying to win, but when you don't have your fastball the week of, Harry's just chilling, nothing worse than 27th, nothing better than 21st. It's insane to see. So, Masters and major seasons coming up, I have bet him to win every major this year at 100 to 1. There's hundreds to ones out there. So, jumping on that early, thought I'd throw that out as we rocking and rolling. Um, Anything else, Kenny Kim? You want to bring up about what's happened in the world of golf? I've hit the driving range a little bit. It's nice and warm. I jumped on the bicycle. I actually was running the show a little late. Thank you for waiting for me, boys, because I saw the odds board and just decided I'd have more fun pedaling 50 miles into a headwind than try and bet the board. So I tried to see how many calories I could burn and would bet the odds that the calories were. So we might be looking at a 29 to 1 random bet here at some point because I burnt like 3,000 calories. And no, we're trying to get in shape. Control the things you can control. I can control how fat I am and how skinny I want to be. So we're gonna start charging. Gonna have a good summer. Got another one on the way. I can't be a fat dad. I have to respond too quickly to the tiny tornado that runs around the house now. So we are in the mode to kind of be nimble and flexible. So looking forward to doing that. I've been using the Fit for Golf app to. Is that crickets, Mike? Is that a crickets noise, or is that the dryer?
It's my loud ass dryer. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were hitting me with cricket sound effects there.
I do have them.
No, you leave that button alone. But yeah, so that's just whatever's going on in my life. Lots of fun to be had there. Had a good round 4 showdown as well with my core of Chris Gotterup is a round 4 beast, by the way, people.
He is.
Like that man in a round 4. If he's like within 5 shots of the lead, I would auto bet the man almost every single time to win the tournament because it's what he did at the Waste Management. Surged up the leaderboard, kind of held the people off at the Sony, but in round 4 he cruises. It's just weird. There's patterns to golfers out there, and they don't apply to everybody. But if you can find them that apply to certain guys like Gotterup, it's a round 4. He's a magician. He's one of the best golfers in the world in round 4. So
I love the fact that Gotterup that I know he's going to be good because he has won at totally different types of courses. There isn't like a type of course where, I mean, you would think with the way his game is with his length and stuff, the longer courses would be good. Dry area courses would be good. And that's what Waste Management was. That's what Houston was, and they performed well. He also won at Sony, right? A less than driver coastal course, right? With small greens. And he was able to win that. He won a faux links course, the Renaissance, at the Scottish Open, right?
Finished third at the Open.
Yeah, and then I think he won one more, like
the Bay Current or the One Flight or something.
Yeah, something
One Flight
or some shit, right? I mean, like the guy has won on like totally different types of courses, and that's the thing that really catches my eye about him. That he can play and contend week in and week out. It doesn't matter what the type of course is. I mean, honestly, when you think about the golfers out there, there's only a handful of golfers that you could say about that, right? Who can win on a short course, who can win on a 7,500 yard course, who can win on a 6,800 yard course, who can win on a faux links course, right? I mean, like, he's going to be good. He's going to be a stud. I'm thinking about him in cash at the Masters, right? And then some people brought up the debutante fact, and maybe I won't go with it, but we've seen debutantes recently at the Masters do a farewell. Oprah with the second place. I know there hasn't been a debutante that's won Augusta, but there's been 7 debutantes that have finished runner-up, right? So it's not like and one was just recently with Oprah, so it's not like out of the question. But people might have talked me out of it. Henley seems like a pretty good, safer bet, just in case in that same price range for the Masters. And of course, we'll be going over the Masters, hopefully maybe a day or two earlier than normal. Our show will be out. We're thinking either Sunday. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. I've already started doing a little bit of research. I think I already have my cash game cornerstones. So it should be a fun week. But you ready to
Before
move
the
on?
people jump in the comments and say there's never a debutante won, Fuzzy Zilla has won as a debutante back in like
It's been like
1957 or something like that.
yeah, a while ago.
We weren't alive for that. I wasn't for sure. My dad wasn't either. So doesn't really matter to us. Kenny, anything else? I think we're good to go. Do you want to dive into what we can expect from TPC San Antonio, the Oaks course?
Yeah, sure. Golfers on the PGA Tour, they moved to Texas. They stay in Texas this week. They're going to play the Valero Texas Open from TPC San Antonio. The Texas Open, one of the oldest tournaments on tour, but it's only been played at TPC San Antonio since like 2010. TPC San Antonio consistently ranks as one of the top 20 hardest courses on tour, but can play a bit easier in pristine conditions and can play a bit harder when the wind goes up. The course was designed by Greg Norman in 2009. He was actually going through a divorce at the time. And, in the beginning, a lot of people were saying how it makes sense because of how difficult the course plays, that he was going through that divorce. It's long. It could play difficult. The par fives are especially long. Most being close to 600 yards, but that does sort of skew the distance of the course. Even though it's around 7,450, 7,500, it's not quite as long because all the par fives are so long when it comes down to them. The average score for the par fives here since 2010 is around 4.9 strokes a hole, right? I mean, that's really high for par fives. The weather usually plays a factor. High winds are the norm. Scoring has varied from like winter being -12 to -20 over the past few years. And winter, of course, and the reason for that, of course, is the wind and weather. Be on the lookout for wave advantages. There was a big one here. Back in the day, I'm showing my age, 2015, right? There was about a 4 to 5 stroke difference from the morning wave to the afternoon wave. And yes, I was playing DFS back then in 2015. So let's get to the meat of the course. The TPC San Antonio is 7,435 yard par 72, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s. Only 1 par 5 is reachable by all. There are around 60 bunkers on the course and water hazards on 3 holes. Off the tee, golfers will face tree-lined fairways. They get more narrow the farther from the tee box the drive goes. Large bunkers in play. Looking at past winners, it doesn't really seem to favor bombers due to even with the course length. Part of this is due to the par fives being so long. Another part is that a lot of the longer holes are actually played with the prevailing wind at the golfer's back, and the shorter holes normally have the prevailing wind in the golfer's face. Now, we've seen an uptick of bombers fare well recently, and I think it's overall in like all tournaments, even things that are Colonial and Sony, was Goddard and stuff like that. We've seen this new breed of younger golfers that are technically a lot longer than most still perform well on these less than driver courses.
Shout out Justin Rose.
What's up?
Shout out Justin Rose.
Yeah. I feel like that's been sort of like a thing that's been happening over the last 5 or 6 years. Another reason why is it could be the fact that it's shifted before the Masters, right? Now, the prior years is that this has been the week before the Masters. The rough has actually been up, right? I'm sorry, the rough has been down to simulate what golfers are going to see at Augusta next week. From what I'm hearing now, that is not the case. I do not know officially the rough, but I don't think it's going to be that really small 1 inch, 1.5 that we've seen here. I think it's going to be a little bit more, minimum 2.5, maybe even 3. Well, I've just heard this from Andy Lack. I didn't actually listen to his show, but someone on X, Jim Sieg, hit me up, or maybe it was Larry. Maybe it was Larry. One of the two guys hit me up and told me that he heard that on Andy's show. And Andy, when it comes to courses, super sharp, right? He knows what's going on. So we'll see as the week goes on. But if Andy said it, I tend to believe him on this. Now, if it is, the one thing I would probably nuke up a little bit in your stat models would be driving accuracy and around the green play. But let's move on a little bit more about the course. Native areas, of course, are going to be a big factor. Kevin Na had his 16 here. Definitely need to avoid the native areas. On approach shots, golfers are going to see average size greens that are multi-tiered, a lot of undulation. Like Augusta National, the edges around the greens are closely mowed from the approach shots. The just miss will lead to tricky up and downs from different collection areas or bunkers. Only around 57% of approach shots land on the green, a little bit less than 60. I think it's been up here recently. Approach shots land on the green, so getting it up and down for the greens will be important, but not nearly as difficult as next week at Augusta. The greens are usually firm, but of course that's going to be weather dependent. I haven't checked the weather yet. So we'll see how that goes. Make sure you check it as the week goes on, because honestly, looking at Monday, it doesn't really, you never really know. So, our Monday shows, unless there's like an absolute definite thing that we see that could happen the first couple of days, we're just playing the guys we like, right? For the most part, when it comes down to it. Is around 11.5 to 12.5. It's varied here in the last few years. The grass used on the greens is Bermuda grass overseeded with POA, something that has been familiar with these golfers the last few weeks. Byron, what are you looking for? What boxes need to be checked this week, my friend?
We are going to take a peek at the Discord first, the Model Maniac Patreon Discord. By the way, actually, let me just stop sharing here. We had nobody win the comment for the winner of the tournament. Someone threw out the name with odds for whatever reason. You got to tell us this person's going to win the tournament. I mean, you can't just be throwing out random ambiguous nonsense out there in the comments, people. This is a serious podcast. Don't you realize that? So please, I'm just joking, obviously. We take things very lightheartedly here, but we need you to be a serious commenter. Hit the like, hit the subscribe while you're busy doing that. Tell us who's going to win this week's Valero Open, and you will be the first person to comment with the name that wins this tournament will get a free month in the Model Maniac Patreon. You will then have access to everything I'm about to show you right now. If you don't win, you can always jump in there using code Valero26 to get 50% off your first month, or just get an annual sub for 20% off everything over there. Here is the research station for the Valero Texas Open. We're going to take a look at the course conditions this week. Hellish conditions, your scores over par. So as you can see, up 2/3 of the rounds at the Valero in the last 5 years are over par. Hard conditions are half a stroke to a even par round scoring average, which happens 10% of the time, and then medium is 1.5 strokes under par to half a stroke under par scoring average for that round. A quarter of the rounds have that. So we're going to be taking a look at the weather then. I know Kenny mentioned you don't want to typically really rely on this, but you can get a good feel for what's going to happen this week. When it comes to weather edges and you see lightning pretty much in 3 straight days, weather edges mean diddly squat to kind of predict. Maybe you want to stack weather waves just so that you have guys going off in one of the waves that might be better. Maybe it doesn't happen. Who the hell knows? But there could be lightning and thunder delays, that kind of stuff. I don't think there's ever thunder delays. It's usually lightning because no one's scared of noise. Everyone's scared of electricity. So if you take a look at wind, we're going to be seeing above 10 miles per hour pretty much every single day. Friday could be fun. Remember we saw Tommy Feet, which shoot an 81 in the final round of last year's Valero, I believe. So, anything can happen when the wind pops up. It looks like Sunday might be a little calmer. Who the heck knows? That is Sunday. That's like 6 days away. But we should be expecting some wind coming up. So if we expect wind, we can expect scoring conditions to be hellish and hard. These are your guys that check the hard and hellish boxes who gain over half a stroke in each area. So we're going to take a look here. I'm going to just rattle off everybody. Apologies for the long list, but this is relevant stuff. So if you want to fast forward, fast forward. But we got Marco Penge, Fleetwood, Marty Doe, Wrighton, McNeely, Si Woo, Russell Henley, Ludwig, John Parry, Matsuyama, Michael Thorbjornsen, Rio Hatsatsune, ADDC, Hank Lebioda, Ricky Fowler, Vince Whaley, Jordan Smith, Bezzy, Thorbjorn Olesen, so both the Thors, Stephen Fisk, Daniel Berger, Jesper Svensson, and Pontus Nyholm. We had a really good tournament last week. So that is kind of one of the things you can find over in the Model Maniac Patreon. All right, so we've shown you guys what conditions we can expect this week. We're going to dive into who checks the most boxes, what kind of boxes they check. If you want to take a quick screenshot of the guys that check all these boxes this week, Russell Henley is the guy that checks all 6 boxes. We've got Siwoo Kim, Tommy Fleetwood, Decky, Mav, Ludwig, and Naren checking 5 of the 6. We will go through them now to kind of rattle off a couple of those names. We've just gone through the hellish scoring conditions, so we can take a peek at the other rankings we want to use here. We're going to take a look at the micro model, which is basically a course fit ranking system that I use hole by hole stuff using a microscopic drill down into each golfer's profiles. Then we're going to take a look at the strokes gained for the last 12, 8, 6, and 2026 strokes gained. Each one of those gets 25% weighting. Then we're going to do some course history here. Course history, I think, is kind of relevant at this golf course. I don't think we've seen any debutant win this tournament before, according to things that I've read. It may be right, it may be wrong, but it kind of checks out. And then we've got total finish percentages here, which is going to be using the top 20, top 10, top 5, and win rates for these golfers and get them a nice little total. And then we're going to use all of these percentages that you see in row number 2 as we're scrolling up and down and side to side like a Texas two-step down in the San Antonio area to see what different percentages we're using to attribute for the model power rating over here to kind of find us a model ranking. So all of that being said, let's dive into the micro model. I can show you what that looks like when it comes to the rankings this week. Starting off with number 1, Sepp Straka. He's going to be ball striking this place to absolute death, followed by Siwoo Kim, Ricky Fowler, Daniel Berger, Hideki Matsuyama, Ludwig Oberg, Russell Henley, Sir Darshan Yalamaraju, Tommy Fleetwood, and rounded out with Colin Morikawa. Remember, the micro model's using the same last 12, last 8, last 4, 2026 stats. So Colin's down here in 10th. We've seen some good form from him, obviously, as you can see in 2026, but we've had some really rough stuff. So, the micro model is a bit of a long-term prospect, and it gives you a decent feel for the overall performance of their game. Then we're going to take a look at the raw strokes gained average. You can kind of see how each guy's trending here to see, okay, who's firing recently. Tommy Fleetwood, as you can see, is kind of, although he's had some really good finishes, he's not nearly gaining as many strokes as he was over the last 12 months or the last 8. So, kind of just seeing that can give you a good perspective of who's hot and who's kind of resting on their laurels for the long-term metrics here. The guy who gaining the most strokes when you take 25% of each one of these buckets is Russell Henley. Number 1 strokes gainer in this field. Fleetwood, Morikawa, McIntyre, Siwoo Kim, Decky, Ludwig, Ricky, Maverick McNeely, and Alex Noren, with a little bit of, I think, Nikolai Højgaard has since withdrawn. So Jordan Spieth would then be in there instead, but those are outside the top 10. So those are your guys who have got really solid strokes gained over that period of time. And then we can take a peek at some strokes gained at this golf course over the last 5 Valero Texas Opens. If you want to take a peek at those guys, Jordan Spieth is obviously a winner back in 2021. He leads the field. Brian Harman, a winner in 2025. He's second in the field. Danny McCarthy finishing second in 2024. He's third. Those guys all gained over 2.2 strokes over at the San Antonio Oaks course. Other guys, Matt Kuchar finished 18th last year. Tom Hoagie, Thorbjorn Olesen, Alex Noren, S.H. Kim, Gary Woodland, Lucas Glover, and Keith Mitchell, all finding themselves with gaining over 1.5 strokes at the San Antonio Oaks course over there. If you want to take a look at some of the best finishers here, who are the past winners, who's all got top 5s, we can see Jordan Spieth, Brian Harman, and JJ Spahn being the past winners at this venue playing this week in the last 5 years. So a lot to like from all of these names in this range. And then we're going to take a look at some upside performers. These are for finishes in the last 12 months now. I've now had enough of these Corn Ferry Tour guys and the DP World Tour guys kind of bringing over their grandfathered strokes gained and finish rates at shittier tournaments across the pond and such. So we are going to be taking a look at what's happened with more recent finishes for them. Tommy Fleetwood still giving you sensational upside over the last little while. Russell Henley, Sepp Straka, Christopher Wrighton, Bobby Mack, Johnny Kiefer. We had a really good performance last week at a third place at Houston. Nikolai's obviously WD, Marco Penge, Austin Smotherman, Siwoo Kim, and then Ludwig Oberg finding himself sitting in the 10 spot there for guys playing this week with upside percentage rates. And then the Model Maniac rankings in the Model Maniac Patreon. We've got our top 10 by the names of Siwoo Kim leading the model rankings in number 1. Russell Henley, number 2. Tommy Fleetwood, number 3. Decky, number 4. Mav, number 5. Ricky, number 6. Ludwig, 7. Spieth, 8. Sepp, 9. And Keith Mitchell jumps into the 10 spot there. Loving what he's getting up to when you're looking for some consistency. The man is never going to finish inside the top 5, but man, he can finish inside the top 20. So those are your top 10 guys going into this week based off the Model Maniac Power Rankings. Go check it out. Use code Valero26 to get yourself 50% off the first month over there. Kenny, Kim, before we get into the bets for this week, can we hear a couple words from our wonderful sponsors, DraftKings? The battle for the jacket is heating up in Augusta, and there's no better place to sweat the action than DraftKings Daily Fantasy, the ultimate destination for fantasy golf fans. And for the year's first major, our partners at DraftKings are giving all customers a shot to play free for a $1 million top prize with your next deposit of $10 or more. That's 100,000 times your deposit if you win, only on DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. It's simple to play. Build your dream lineup while staying under the salary cap, then sit back and watch as your players rack up points. Every birdie, every bogey, every clutch putt, feel the intensity of every shot. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app to play free for a shot at the $1 million top prize with just a $10 deposit. That's for all DraftKings customers. Just download the Daily Fantasy app for your free shot today. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. One per customer. Minimum $10 single deposit. Reward issued as one $10 ticket for the DraftKings State Fantasy Golf Millionaire Contest. Ticket is single use and expires at contest lock on 4/9/26. See terms at DraftKings.com/promos. Sponsored by DraftKings.
All right, so let's get the bets. The strive for 4 in a row. We'll see how it goes. But here is my betting card for the Valero Texas Open. First one, it's going to be Ludwig Oberg. 22-1 with 3 places. I'm doing a fair amount of 3-place betting on the site that's open 365 days a year. This week because the odds are so bad. I wanted to get, I wanted to bet a fair amount of people, and, Yellow Mirage at 35-1 just wasn't going to cut it, right? With 8 places. I mean, that's crazy. Right. It's even JJ Spahn like 28-1 or something with 8 places. It's crazy. These odds are crazy. So I took my guys that I really like, juiced half of them up with the 3 places, and then the long shots are all the 8-place guys, even though some of them are lower odds than these first 4. So the first 4 basically are my main card. The first one's going to be Ludwig Oberg, 22-1, 3 places. Probably has some of the best play in the last 6 of the last 8 rounds. In this field. Yes, that Sunday finish at Sawgrass was bad, but winning is hard. It's not easy. The more opportunities you put yourself in that situation, the more likely you're going to finally get that W. I don't think it's gonna Now it worries me in cash, like, because it's still going to be in the back of my mind, like how mentally is he going to deal with what happened at the Players? I'm hoping that it just gets it smooth, runs through it, and goes out there, continues to play the way he's been playing, and maybe he can sort of get over that schnoz that we've seen from what happened to him at Sawgrass. So I'm definitely going to play Oberg. He's 22-1. He just missed out as my first cash game. Cornerstone, we'll talk about that and the reasoning behind that a little bit later. Next, it's going to be Morikawa, 35-1 with 3 places. With the juiced up odds, this number looks good. Even at like 20-1 with 8 places, which is what I'm seeing on 365. I mean, I that doesn't seem like a horrible number either, right? For this guy. Number 1 guy in my model, ball striking has been elite. Par 5 scoring has been elite. Birdie or better percentage has been elite. Approach play from 150 to 200 has been elite. Good drive percentage has been elite. Recent form has been elite. I'm not overthinking it here. Give me Morikawa, 35-1, 3 places. Next, it's going to be Hitsatsune, 50-1 with 3 places. Had outstanding form less than 2 months ago, and while his performance the last month or so hasn't been to that level, it still has been good play. As he's gaining over a stroke around tee to green on the field in the last 16 rounds, and had a solid top 15 at Sawgrass. Finished 5th here last year, comes in 4th in my mind. Next. Okay. I never bet this guy. All right, Keith Mitchell, 75-1 with 3 places. No, he's a guy is almost like, I don't really have a no bet list, but if I did, right, Mitchell would probably be on there. And it got me thinking. Because, I decided to look at his numbers. Like, what if I looked at Mitchell's numbers and didn't pay attention to his name, right? What would I think of this guy, right? And so you look at his stats. In the last 24 rounds in this field, he's 9th in strokes gained tee to green, 7th in strokes gained off the tee, 22nd in strokes gained approach, but 6th overall in overall proximity from 150 to 200, where the majority of your approach shots are going to come from this week. 8th in strokes gained ball striking, top 30 in bogey avoidance, birdie or better percentage, and par 4 scoring. You're going to have to score on par 4s here because of how difficult the par 5s are, right? We talked about that in the course preview. Like, if I looked at those numbers and I didn't look at the name, I'm like, I'm playing that guy. I might even bet that guy. I'm betting that guy. So I'm going to try and put the bias away, right? 75-1 with 3 places. I think he's had some good performances here in the past as well. So I'm going to play. I'm going to play. Next, it's going to be.
He's played very well, yeah. Very well.
Yeah.
Consistently well. Not like high upside stuff, but consistent, yeah.
I'm going with Keith. The next 3 are basically long shots, but they're not really when you compare them, because these are the 8th place bets that I have. First, it's going to be Thorbjorn Olesen, 50-1 with 8 places. All right. Coming off his best performance of the year at Houston, finishing 14th and gaining in every major strokes gain category except putting. Loves this course. Gaining 3.5 strokes on the field in the last 8 rounds, and has a 14th place finish and a 5th place finish. I'm going to go with Thorbjorn. Next, Brian Harman, 50-1 with 8 places. Like Olesen, Harman's coming off his best performance of the season, 11th place finish at Sawgrass. Also, like Olesen, he gained in every major strokes gain category at Sawgrass except putting. I think you need a good all-around game here to really have a chance to win. All facets have to be working. And it's not going to prove it anything, but I like the fact that I like looking at golfers who, in their last round playing, have gained strokes in every major strokes gain category. And Harman is the same. And of course, he is the defending champion. So he can play this course well. Next, it's like the true long shot that I have. Only one this week. And honestly, like in this little run that I've been having, it's all been, 50. I guess Woodland was the highest that I had. I wanted to bet him at 100-1 with 8 places, if you remember from last week's show. But of course, when I clicked the button, it dropped his odds to 60-1 on me. And I was like, fuck it, I'll still bet it. Thank God that I still decided to do it. But, most of the guys have been 60-1 or less. All of the guys have been 60-1. I think Cam was 35, Fitz was 28. And so even the one each way that I had was Oberg at the Players. And, of course, he was, I don't know, 35 or something.
25-1, yeah, 31, yeah.
So it's been a lot of, so you can see I got a lot of 50-1 or less in here. I think I have half the field, half of my bets, 4 of the 7. Now, but I'm going with Vegas. And as you can tell by the guys I'm betting, I'm looking at recent form a lot, even if it's just like one event, like Harman and Olsen, right? Vegas fits that mold is just like Olsen and Harman. He had his best performance of the season in his last event that he played. Finished 14th last week. Iron game was really strong in Houston. And from what I saw, I think he had a little bit of featured group or whole coverage that I saw on Thursday or Friday. The way he was striking the ball, it looked really, really good from a visual standpoint, watching it on TV. So I'm going to go with Vegas, 104-1, 8 places. So my card for this week, and this is a little bit less than 7 units, like 6.8. I've been going up to 8. Last week, I actually went up to 9. I'll be honest, because I added Goddard.
Good baby.
Because I wanted the streak, right? This tends to happen when you go on a little bit of a run. You add a little bit to that bankroll and try and get that next fix, right? Get that next win. And so I was under 8 last week, under 8 units. And then I was like, I had FOMO and I had to bet Goddard. So I bet him like 17-1 win over. I added that on X. So make sure you follow me on X. I can't everything, even though I win. So I'm going to try and not go crazy this week. I know I'm going for 4 in a row, but 4 in a row, I mean, it's highly fucking unlikely. Like, it's highly unlikely, right? So right now I'm a little bit less than 7 units. I might add somebody else as the week goes on, maybe just get to 8 tops. And of course I'm trying to win 30 minimum, which is, $50 a unit. So I'm still profiting over $1,000, which is the goal, which is what I want. So my card for this week, Oberg, 22-1 with 3 places. Morikawa, 35-1 with 3 places. Hitsatsunen, 50-1 with 3 places. Killer Keith Mitchell, 75-1 with 3 places. Thorbjorn Olesen, 50-1 with 8 places. Brian Harman, 50-1 with 8 places. Jonathan Vegas, 140-1 with 8 places.
Let's go. My card this week, Kenny, I'm going to go with Ludwig Ober. I'm going to go Colin Morikawa, Keith Mitchell, Ryo Hitsatsunen, Thorbjorn Olesen, Brian Harman, and Jonathan Vegas.
See, now you're going to do that. Now we'll lose.
Just joking. The only person on your card that's not going to win is going to be Brian Harman. We also have bet along with you. 71 for the defending champ. I'm trying a different thing. I'm going to get out of my own head and just let the numbers speak to me. And I did every year a defending champ wins a tournament. It happens, right? So at 70-1, I'll take a gamble on that. It's a fair price to pay to get some exposure on the defending champ, like you mentioned. Solid recent performance there, and it's a perfect course fit. The guy balls out. He's the Open champion. In the wind, he gets his shit together. We're going to see over 10-mile-per-hour winds this week. I think Brian Harman's a fantastic option. Low center of gravity. He's going to stay sturdy over the golf ball. All of that jazz. My other bet that I have made is Sudarshan Yalamaraju. I bet that yesterday. I dropped it in the Discord, 145-1. That number's toast. It is like, I've never bet a number that's crashed that fucking hard ever. It's now, 40-1?
40.
So, yeah. So,
30, it's 33 for 8 places.
Yeah. So you can't bet that, unfortunately. So if you want losers, jump in the Model Maniac Patreon. There it is at a ridiculous number. I think, it just makes too much sense to kind of go to that guy. We've seen him play well at the Players now and the Houston Open. I'm shocked he never showed up to the Valspar because he's not in the Masters yet. I don't understand why you're not going to give yourself as many chances to try and get in there. He's playing good enough to do so. He needs to win this week. Obviously, you can't. There's nothing you can do with world ranking points this week, people, that will get you into the Masters. You have to win the Valero to get in if you're not already qualified. So
Yeah, makes it like
that's
half of the golfers the last 15 years got into the Masters by winning this event.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
but not
So
this
I
event,
think you
but
can.
the event the week before,
Yeah.
because it's been
Yes. All right. So I mentioned earlier the boxes and all that jazz. The guy that checks 6 of the 6 boxes, he's the only person to do that. And I've been hounding him this year to be bad for me to get off of him and have him go and win this tournament. It's Russell Henley. I think he's an absolute stud. I think in these conditions, he's been struggling to get deep under par. He's ridiculously good at saving bogey. Like the man can scramble. The Sex Panther growls from just about any spot you can imagine on a golf course. And we are looking at him having won the API. A couple years before that, he's won the WWT Mayakoba. So he's very capable of doing business in a golf tournament. He used to be a loser where he kind of ejected out. Now he's a Sex Panther and he's winning signature events. So checks the 7 boxes. We're getting super solid odds at 18-1 for Russell Henley. We've
one
got
thing I'll
Tommy
say
Fleetwood
about
at
Henley.
14, 16-1 for Oberg. So I think, we're getting some solid options there.
So I had Henley first. I bet Henley first. He was on the shitter. He was one of my, and again, I've been going with the gut instincts, and I sort of went away with it this week. So that's probably why I'm going to lose, because I had Henley. I cashed him out for Oprah, this week, later on. So maybe I should have kept Henley because the gut instincts, the first instincts I've been getting, because first instinct I posted on X was also Hideki and Bobby Mack, and I didn't bet those guys either. So I could be making a mistake here because I ended up betting it, looking at it. The Hideki worried me because of the higher rough possibility and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. I could be making a gigantic mistake if Hideki, Bobby Mack, or Henley win.
There we go. I mean, you've got your pseudo outright card that's unofficially out there now, Kenny. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get Russell Henley coming home for us. I think in the last 5 years, he's played here one time. He's had a 4th place finish in 2024. The short game for this man. He's gone from being one of these ridiculously good ball strikers. He's still a very good ball striker, but he used to be a really bad putter, and now he's one of the best in the field. So if you take a look at his actual strokes gained putting, he's averaging over. He's like right in the mix there with the putter. He's well above average around the short game. He's well above average at this golf course. On approach, he's significantly above average, and he hits fairways. Like he's elite at hitting fairways. He's not necessarily the longest guy in the world, but he just nukes it down the middle at like 295, 310 maxing, and he's played fantastic golf. He's currently in 2026 gaining the most strokes he's gained over the last 12 months. And it's looking very, very good for him. He's gaining about 2 strokes per round. Like I mentioned earlier, he leads the field in strokes gained total in 2026. So love what Russell Henley's doing over there. Plays highest conditions. He gains over stroke in those conditions as well. So give me some Russell Henley, the Sex Panther. He's now finishing inside the top 20, 78% of his starts. It's like an 80% clip. It's not even Sex Panther. It's like Sex Panther triple platinum now. It's like really, really getting up there. So I don't think I'm going to be betting anybody else. I think I'm going to be rolling with Henley. I'm going to be rolling with Harman, Yalamaraju, who's Yalamanuked, and we are going to be live adding because it's going to be windy. It's going to be carnage. I tend to find I'm trying to stick to what I'm the best at, and I hit Chris Gotterup at the Sony after 2 rounds, and a 10-1. So I know how to kind of read the board as it's being presented to me as the guys unfold there. I do a lot of round and showdown stuff where I analyze the data there and I drop that in the Model Maniac Patreon and I use the same box checking system to kind of figure out where we want to go with golfers. So I think Russell Henley checking all 6 boxes this week. It's just an obvious play to me. I'm not going to overthink it. I think the number at 18-1 is the best at DraftKings. So use code FGD if you are a first time depositor over there. Let's have a good one. I think it's going to be a great week. I don't have any Lindeque's ladders. I haven't with weather like this. I freak out a little bit. I want to get some good understanding of what's happening. I'm in a bit of a rut type situation, so I don't want to force stuff. I want to just really take my time and focus on this stuff and give you guys solid options. I will share some leans. I'm probably going to be looking at a Russell Henley top 20 in some capacity as well, because that's minus 125-ish out there. As I mentioned, 80% of the time he's inside the top 20, and this course is a perfect fit for him. So he's absolutely going to be on the card. I wouldn't be shocked if he's actually a Lindeque ladder type situation, top 10, top 5, because I'm kind of invested in this guy. He's doing some good work. So going to wait to see for some tee times. That'll come out shortly before I go live at 3 Eastern on Back 9 Bets on Mayo Media Network. I'll be previewing some Masters stuff on there, kind of sharing my screen, showing you guys all my stuff there. I might share a couple more bets once we get a bit more information, get a good feel for the weather, and then go from there. Let's dive into some DFS blood, sweat, and tears for this week's Valero Texas Open. Kenny Kim, we've got Tommy Fleetwood sitting at 10-5. We've got a casual Ludwig Oberg 10-1. And let's go into $9,600 with Robert McIntyre at 99, Russell Henley at 98, and Siwoo Kim at 96. We've got 5 guys above $9,600. Where are we going in that range?
Playing Oberg. I'm playing Oberg this
Obviously,
week.
yeah.
I'm going to keep on going with them. Now, usually a lot of the times I bet my cash game cornerstones. If you've paid attention to the show long enough, you know that. I'm not having Oberg as my cash game cornerstone because, of course, it's honestly almost more important for me to win cash this week than hit my 4th outright in a row. Because, I've been doing it for so long, and 8 out of 10 is that's not anything to sneeze at, right? Okay, and so and it's been my bread and butter for so long. It's what's kept me doing the show for 11 years. That's what it started. Cash Game Cornerstone started 10 years ago. I've been doing Cash Game Cornerstone for 10 years, right? And so thinking about this, it's still in the back of my mind what happened to Oberg on Sunday at Sawgrass, and if it's in the back of my mind, it could still be in the back of his mind. And that's why I'm not playing him in cash. The guy I am playing in cash, my first cash game cornerstone, is going to be Russell Henley. You talked about him. I bet him almost and then cashed him out. So obviously I do like Henley this week. He's top 10 my model. The ball striking is, very, very good. He's been putting very, very well, like you said. Tons of birdies. Everything makes sense for Russell Henley. Makes a shit ton of cuts. So Henley is going to be my first cash game cornerstone. I'm probably not playing Tommy. I'm not going to play Siwoo. I'm thinking about Bobby Mack. I haven't made any because he was one of my first gut instincts. So it's possible if the wind picks up, especially with his short game and his penchant for playing well in the wind, his stock will rise for me. So Bobby Mack would be a weather dependent play up here. We'll see Wednesday.
Let's go. I'm also a little concerned, it's a solid 4th place finish at the Players. That's his only real, solid finish this year. He's been very consistent, nothing but top 40s. And the course fit makes tons of sense. We'll see the ownership. He checks 3 boxes, makes too much sense in my opinion, but it does rank 11th of the guys inside the top, 96 and above there. I'm going to be going with Russell Henley. He's perennially undervalued. He's perennially underowned. And I think at $9,800, he provides you with a 44% top 10 rate as well. That's almost half the time he's inside the top 10 for old Russ the Bus. So let's see what he can do this week. Also, Siwoo Kim ranks number 1 in the model. So going to just follow the model's magic here this week and just trust the process here. He's not necessarily had the greatest form in the last 3 starts, but we've now seen him take 2 weeks off. I think the guy must be just like biting at the bit to kind of get out on a golf course and play some good golf. I think he's recharged. I love the short game department of the chipping there for Siwoo. The ball striking is going to provide him with such safety around this kind of a venue. You know, keep the ball in play. He's a very accurate driver of the golf ball. I think hitting fairways, especially if you think the rough is going to be higher than normal, is a premium. Yeah, you know, if the wind, when you have wind and firm Texas conditions and high rough, it's hard to keep the ball on the green because you can't generate any spin. For the noobs out there that are just watching the show for the first time and don't know about the nuances of what it takes to score well on golf courses. If you watched Texas last week in Houston, nobody cared about hitting fairways because when the rough's 1.5 inches, you know, you can't do anything with 1.5 inches. You need at least 2.5 to make some magic. So I think kind of taking care of business with some high rough, hitting a lot of fairways, going to really help you guys go there. We'll see what ownership comes with Tommy Fleetwood because he's actually like getting overlooked, but his worst finish this year, I think, is an eighth. It's like, you know, and again, the finish that we had at the 62nd place finish in 2025 was an 81 in Sunday. It's just, you know, sometimes you have a bad round. It is what it is. I'm not going to overreact to that. He does have a seventh place, yeah, 2 years ago. So monitoring ownership on the highest price guy in the field. Let's see what happens there. Then we're going to go to a defending champ at $9,500, Jordan Spieth, dropping all the way down to Colin Morikawa, Hideki Matsuyama, Sepp Straka, Nikolai Højgaard, and Maverick McNeely rounds out the bottom part of the 9K range. Kenneth Kim, what are we doing?
Play Morikawa. He's going to be my second cash game cornerstone. I know some people might worry about the injury, right? So, and I think it's baked into the price. I think it's baked into the odds because he should be higher priced. And I think, you know, I don't think he's going to be as popular as he probably should be, because of the WD from last time. Personally, I think, you know, why even risk it unless you're fine?
Got to
Right?
get a feel
I mean,
before
like,
the Masters. I think he
yeah,
wants
the
some
week
reps. You
before the
know, like
Masters, why even go out if there's any type of even a inkling that the shit is not 100%? Like, what the fuck would be the point? Right? You're playing good golf. So obviously he's out here for a reason, right? And I think it's to compete and to win and, you know, to get honed in for Augusta.
yeah.
You know, I don't think he's worried about the injury. Am I taking a risk here? Yes. You know, taking a little bit of a risk. But I think he can win this event. Like I talked about him in the betting segment. I think we're getting the withdrawal, the back injury worry baked into the price and baked into his number. Because I think he should be the favorite, one of the favorites on the betting board. And he's like seventh, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think he should be one of the higher priced golfers in DraftKings. And he's, I think, eighth or seventh. Like you're getting a discount here. And I'm going to take the risk, even in cash. I'm going to take the risk playing him in GPPs as well. So I love Morikawa this week. My second cash game cornerstone, Straka, a guy that I thought about betting. You know, again, I can't bet everyone up there, especially with these odds, right? Especially with the odds boards that we have. But you know, the proven winner, a guy who can grind on if the courses get sort of difficult, winning Honda in the past, right? You know what I'm saying? So the guy is he's a top 20 in the world player, and you're getting him at $9,000, right?
Yeah.
And in this field, he's probably, you know, when it comes to win equity, you know, the only people that might have better win equity than him would be like Decky. That might be it. That might be it. Right?
Yeah.
Because this guy's won 3 times in the last 3 years, right? I mean, there's not many people above him that have done that.
Yeah. No, it's fair. And, you know, the iron plays, he ranks number 1 in this course fit model. So that makes way too much sense in my opinion. And if you take a look at Sepp Straka, he gains 1.6 strokes in hellish conditions. So, you know, that's where keeping the ball in the fairway, being a good driver, getting the irons on the green, and then you make your putts, you know, like that's what rewards good golf on hard golf courses. So hopefully you can do that for you, Kenny. I think I'll be following in your footsteps right there. Jordan Spieth finds himself ranked 8th in the model. He only checks 2 boxes. He's one of these guys that We haven't seen a top 10 from him yet this year. According to Jordan Spieth himself, he's very, very close. We all see that he's very close. It could be close to the edge. It could be close to winning a golf tournament. It could be close to completely just losing his marbles. Who the hell knows where he is? But the course history is too hard to kind of ignore. We've got a win, a 35th, a 10th, and a 12th, and you can look even further back than that. And I think we are seeing similar metrics. So the consistency coming into this week, he plays fantastic. He actually leads the field in strokes gained, hellish conditions, gains 1.7 strokes because he's magic around the greens. You know, like the guy can scramble his absolute face off, and at a golf course like this in Texas, Spieth could have a breaking out party this week. So we'll see what Geordie can do. He's going to be mega chalk. Monitor the ownership there, but I might not even match the field. I think I'll just play him I'm not going to worry about ownership sometimes. I'm going to worry how I build my lineups and then make sure that the total ownership for my lineup is
play chalk. There's no problem playing chalk, right?
Yeah.
Just don't make it all chalk.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, I mean, just play if you're gonna, especially when guys that are in the higher price range, because most of the time those guys are good. They're like the best golfers in the field. Right. So
there's reason they chalk, you know, like
it has better odds of happening in a 7K guy. It's just simple math. I suck at math. I'm an Asian guy that sucks at math, right? And even I can figure that shit out, right? And so you play a chalky guy up top. Would I play chalky Jordan Spieth? No, but you know, you can play a chalky guy up there, and then make your differences down below. Like, you know, I like the GPP lineups that I've been really good with. There's always one or two guys are like 20, 30%. Of course, it's single entry, smaller GPPs. Yeah. So of course the ownership is going to be inflated. But you know, and then I got like one guy who's like 6% who finishes third.
That's your leverage guy.
You know what I'm saying? That's what got me.
And if I play Jordan Spieth with the guy like Maverick McNeely, who I think is sitting right between Decky, Sepp, Thor, you know, I don't see him being the most popular option in this range. Ranks 5th in the mile, had a 3rd place finish here last year. We aren't really seeing much high upside finishes from him this year as well. He's kind of in the same boat as Spieth. So why not take him a lot? I will be over the field with Mav McNeely for certain. You know, I think I'll be finding my leverage with him in particular and pairing him up with Jordan and guys like Siwoo to go there. I think that I could very well start a lot of my lineups in the 9s. You know, it's very easy to do that with Henley and those boys. So McNeely, hard and hellish conditions, 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, 1.5 and 1.3 strokes he gains in those difficult situations. It's to gain over a stroke in any category, you know, it's hard. So I like that a lot from him. He's a great putter. He's a fantastic driver of the golf ball, which is going to keep the big numbers off the card. Hopefully, I think he could come in a little under-owned. He was the RSM winner just a couple years ago. So we'll see what he does over there. At $8,000, 89, is your boy Michael Thorbjornsen. We got Ricky Fowler, Alex Noren, Spahn, Mitchell, Berger, Rio, Denny, Sadushin, and Nick Taylor with Johnny Kiefer rounding out at the 8K flat. $8,000 range, Kenny, some value options here. Not necessarily popping out of the model for me. Most of the guys outside the top 10, what are you doing in the $8,000 range?
Mike, go ahead and hit the music here, brother. My hustler play of the week is going to be JJ Spahn. I think he's $8,600. All right. It looks like his game's coming back like a little bit, right? He gained over 2.5 strokes ball striking in his last 8 rounds. Now, granted, 2 of those rounds were in 2 different events where he missed the cut. Okay. But the other one, the player, and he still ball struck it well. It was a short game that sort of failed him a little bit in those 2 events. So he did at the top, but he did have that top 25 at Sawgrass, and I saw him play a little bit. They had some TV coverage, or at least ESPN plus coverage of him, and the game looked like it was there, especially like a bunch of nice approach shots to the green at Sawgrass. And so moments sort of reminded me of last year, right? Where he was striking the ball and hitting some really nice shots with shape and stuff like that. So maybe he's taking a turn. for the better, right? I expect his ownership to be low. He's surrounded by Mitchell, Hitsune, Yellow Mirage. All of them, I think, will be heavily owned. And you got like the 9K range where a lot of these guys are going to be played, right? You could play, 2, 3 9K guys in a lineup if you really wanted to, right? And that's, always leaves a dead spot for the 8K range. And so my hustler play of the week for this week is going to be JJ Spawn. I'm thinking single digit ownership. We'll see if he can do it. It's hustler play of the week is always a risk. That's why they're low owned. That's why they're not popular. And we're seeing if we can jump on somebody before the rest of the crowd. My third cash game cornerstone for this week is going to be Killer Keith Mitchell. The dude, again, I never play him, but he's made every cut this year. He's had some top finishes this year. He's played well here before. His stacks line up really well for the course. Top 5 in my model. But you're going to go ahead. This isn't the best field out there. We're going to go ahead. We're going to put Keith in my cash lineup. Now, we do have another guy who's in my lineup, but who's not one of my cash game cornerstones in the 8K range. It's going to be Yellow Mirage. Form is too good. The price is too good. Give me him at $8,100 for possible top 10 upside, which we've seen at least once in his last 3 weeks. He's been up there all 3 weeks. So Yellow Mirage is going to be in my cash line. Again, when in cash, you don't really care about ownership. Like a lot of the times, my combined ownership is between like 150 and 250%. Right, in cash. Right, with all 6 of my guys. Like it happened. Right? Like one guy who's like super chalky could be like 60% in the $50 single entry double up. Right?
Yeah.
It happens. But you're right. It's cash. You only got to finish in the top 50, right? Or top 40 in double ups. And that's what I use these lineups for. If you're unfamiliar, Morikawa is one I would definitely play in GPPs. Henley, I would play in GPPs. Mitchell and Yellow Mirage, we'll see. I don't know if I'll double them up into a GPP, but I'm definitely going to play them in cash.
Let's go, man. And that's such good reasoning. The beautiful thing about DFS is these prices come out; they don't change. Mirage has dropped from 145 to 1 to 33 to 1. You got to find your market for the guy, and he's an Indian Canadian. You got to shop around, baby. He's one of the. He should be inspiring you to do so. So I think he makes tons of sense at that price. I think he could be probably the highest owned guy, maybe in this range. At the price point, you never know, but it's cash, so we'll see. And if you're playing 150 lineups like I've been doing now, I like that approach a lot more. You're going to have to sprinkle him in because there's a very good chance. We got a 5th and a 6th place finish in his last 2 starts. One of them was a freaking Players, let's go. I think it makes way too much sense to not leave to play this man.
You tell me how the mass multi-entering is working for you, because I did it for a very, very long time and it did not go well.
Yeah.
Right. I'm playing 4 lineups. I rostered 14 golfers last week. And my point of view on this and doing it this way would be, you just play your favorite guys.
Yeah.
Like you're not saying, oh, this guy, I sort of like him. I need to fill out a certain percentage in my lineup generator. I'm just going to throw them in. Right? It avoids that. But it also avoids, let me try a flyer on this guy and the guy coming in and winning the event, like what you're saying. But it just depends on how you want to go about it. Personally, I am not a fan of mass multi-entering. I am not a fan of the 150 lineups anymore.
Okay, that's fine, Kenny. You do your thing, my friend. I'm going to do mine, see what happens. I haven't done this forever. I've typically kind of stuck in the 10 to 20 lineup range, kind of just throw my own handles in there.
Dick, I apologize. The meds are kicking in.
No, it's okay. I'm
I was not
just
trying to
letting you
be,
know,
but I could have
all's
been.
good, my friend.
Could have been.
It's all good in the hood. So we're going to be fine in that department. You're going to have a gripe with me here shortly. Don't worry about it. So sixth in the model at $8,800, we've got Ricky Fowler. When it came to Gary Woodland winning the tournament last week, I had two epiphanies with just reflecting on what happened at the Houston Open. The reason there was the driving distance, the recent form, the putting. There's all reasons to play him. The reason I never bet him was because of the PTSD thing. I found a reason not to bet him. Fuck that anymore. Like I'm now going to be looking at guys. Why do I want to play you? Let's go. Not the reason why not to play you anymore. Like I'm sick of being a negative Nancy. I want to look at the upside, yeah, and go at this. And I've typically been very negative on Ricky. I'm looking at his recent form, looking at his course history. There's nothing better than 10th. But he's grading out fantastic. I'm going to trust the model. I'm going to believe that this guy, he needs to win this tournament to get in the Masters. He's playing good enough golf to do so. Like whether or not he can like back himself to do that, we'll see. So finding someone that's inside the top 10 in the model that's in the 8K range is he's the only guy. Him and Keith Mitchell at 10th in the model. So I'll be playing both of them. I think Daniel Berger makes a ton of sense. He is in the Masters, but I think he's also, a 30th year last year and almost damn well won the API. So I think you got to play Daniel Berger. He's playing way too good a golf right now to kind of leave him out of your betting pool or your DFS pool at $8,400. This guy could, if you see him inside the top 5 on Sunday, it's not going to be shocking at all. He's very, very accurate. He hits those low bullets around here, strung out of the rough, got a great short game. It seems like he's finding his game a little bit. Let's see what Danny Berger can do. I think he's right in the mix there. Sudurtion obviously makes a lot of sense. And then this week's Statfish of the Week, it's going to be an interesting situation here because we had a monstrous failure last week with Jason Day. And unfortunately, I was unaware that the shaft of Jason Day had been changed. He changed his equipment. He changed the iron shafts. He changed his irons up so that they look squarer to him, whatever that means. For him, it made tons of sense. He hit the ball fantastically in Houston. I didn't know that. So unfortunately, new equipment can often change a golfer's vibes. These guys are so good. They're living on a razor's edge. Sometimes it can just trigger a spontaneous, really impressive performance, and we saw that from J Day. So that was easily one of my worst Statfish situations here. But we're not even hunting Statfish this week, friends. We are looking to hook hustlers, which we didn't even realize what's going on here. We didn't confirm with what Kenny's hustler play of the week was. Statfish of the week is JJ Spawn. So we got a little interpod rivalry here. Someone's gonna be happy, someone's gonna be pissed. It is what it is. JJ Spawn checks one box. The guy is just coming off. I'm going from one vertigo sufferer to the other. Jason Day, vertigo sufferer. JJ Spawn left the West Coast with vertigo, and you never know when that's going to flare up. The other reasoning I had with Foxy, I lost 2 units on Ryan Fox after just pushing crystals out his penis. This guy had kidney stones 2 weeks ago, and I laid 2 units on him. What am I doing? So don't overinvest in guys that are injured. This guy's got vertigo. This is going to leave him completely out of the equation. I was very bullish on him to begin the year, and it turns out that I've been betting on a guy that can't even balance. You need your balance when you're playing golf, and if he gets a little high, he could fall over. So who the heck knows? I see the upside there, but we haven't seen a top 20 in this year's season. It hasn't happened, and outside of the win, we haven't seen a top 20 at this golf course in 4 starts for JJ Spawn. So not checking a lot of boxes. He loses strokes on hard scoring. It's not ideal either. He does gain half a stroke in hellish, but he doesn't check that box at all. The micro model is telling us that JJ Spawn is ranking 31st over there. He's 28th in the overall model rankings. He's only gained 0.1 strokes in 2026. So there's just everything that the model's telling me is not applicable to playing JJ Spawn. I understand the hustler aspect of this, but we're going to hook that hustler out of the pond if we're in the mood. Hopefully it swims away and gets Kenny a situation. I don't know. It's going to be fun to see how it works out here, but that's JJ Spawn. He's going to be the Statfish of the week. Don't get caught out with JJ Spawn at $8,600.
Mostly because
$7,000 range.
Mostly because of probably the 10 holes that I saw him play when he was in the featured group at the Players.
Yeah, you shoot your shot, my friend.
Saw.
Yeah,
So I know he's going to be a little old, so we're going to take that risk.
yeah. I've got to go get my kid soon. Otherwise, Mrs. Mania, I may not be here for the Master Show. I might be lynched. So Thorbjorn Olesen makes too much sense. I think at 15th in the model, let's go. He played fantastically last week as well. Marco Penge, Jordan Smith. Those are my guys. I'm going to be looking to go back to them. Euro guys, I think the San Antonio course correlates quite nicely over there. Alex Smalley's been playing some fantastic golf, and I'm not going to find a reason not to play Bezzy. I'm going to find reasons to play Bezzy. He ranks 21st in the model, checks the 2 boxes. The guy's got fantastic short game, dominates on these hard and hellish conditions. Let's go. He's 21st. Let's party. And then Marty Doe is going to be where we go next at $7,100. Had a fantastic finish for the first time in quite some time while we've been trying to get this guy on the betting card. Finished 21st last week at the Houston and had a 17th place at the Cognizant. So finding some form in the most recent starts for this man is good to see. I think he's going to be someone I fancy a lot this week. He checks 3 boxes of the 6. So for $7,100 guy, I'm in on that. Tell us what's cooking in the 7s, Kenneth.
Let's just go. I didn't know we were in a rush.
I didn't know I was in a rush either, and I looked at the. It's now raining, so I have to go get the kid, because she's at the softball field. But it's okay. Do your thing. You can take as long as you want. I'm just rushing.
Okay. So let's just go to my final cash game cornerstone. Let's go to the 6K range. We'll come back to the 7K range if he has to run, and I can keep going. So my final cash game cornerstone for this week is going to be Brian Harman, $7,900. Again, I bet him. I'm sorry, it's not going to be Brian Harman. But Brian Harman is in my cash lineup. Brian Harman is in my cash lineup. He is not my final cash game cornerstone. I apologize about that, but he's in there along with Yellow Mirage and the 3 cash game cornerstones before. Talked about him in the betting segment. I do like him. Keep going. I'm Castillo, winner a few weeks ago. I can get down on board. I know you're Jordan Smith and Thorbjorn Olesen. It makes sense. I talked about Olesen in the betting segment also. Then it gets a little rough when you go. I might look at Tom Kim. Again, another guy who gets a lot of TV coverage, right? For some reason, Tom gets a lot of morning featured groups, right? And so I get to see him play, and it seems like the game is almost there, right? He's making a lot of cuts in a row. Next step, maybe to try and get a top 10, right? It would be the next step after making a bunch of cuts in a row. And he's around $7,200. Top 10 will definitely help when it comes down to it. Let's go down to the 6K range. So for my final cash game cornerstone, and this one, it's basically a punt play for me. If you look at my lineup right now, I have Henley, Morikawa, Mitchell, Yellow Mirage, Harman. I got 5 guys over $7,900, right? I'm not taking these guys. I think can make the cut. I think they have upside, really compared to other people in their price range at a higher rate. Okay. So the final cash game cornerstone is going to be a punt play. It's going to be Kevin Streelman at $6,300. I think he's made 7 cuts here in a row. And I think he's made 3 cuts in a row on tour. And I've seen him on the first page of the leaderboard multiple times in the first round, right? So he's $6,300. Just make the cut, right? Is all I want from this guy, and the rest of my lineup can flourish. That's what I'm hoping.
I love it. It's a nice, the way the board's set up, you got to find a guy to allow you to shove the other 5 in there. So I think it makes too much sense. Good form. I kind of fancy Streels a lot. I think starting at the top here for me, there's a couple names. S.H. Kim, my body. I love this guy. I think he's a really good putter.
Event.
So
last event before he has to go to military, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh God, Jesus!
This final event.
What? That sucks for the man. So we'll play it in honor of.
Don't quote me on this. I could be wrong.
maybe that'll be a little send-off action there for SH. I think he, can have insane upside. Maybe the Valero can help him get out of military service. I doubt it. Maybe they can hand him a gold medal of some sort if he wins this thing. Matt Kuchar, if you're taking a look at the last 5 starts at the Valero, he's got 4 top 20s, including an 18th year last year. That makes too much sense. AJ Ewart at $6,700 has been rattling off top 30 finishes in the last 6 starts of his situation. Missed the cut at the Houston. I'm cool taking the flop lag in that department. David Ford, he's a really accurate driver of the golf ball here in $6,700. 60. We're going to see what he can get up to. 16th at the Puerto Rico Open, 13th at the Amex. You got that upside. I like those kind of venues for him. Vince Whaley, someone I drafted a lot in best ball because he makes tons of cuts. He started the year with 4 missed cuts in a row, has now finished inside the top 30 in his last 4 starts. So starting to find his groove again. Got off to a bit of a slow start. His $6,700 provides you with an absolute amount of upside. If you take a look at the last 12 months, 80% of the time he's making cuts for you. So that's good to see. Chandler Blanchet has a 2nd and an 18th in his last 3 starts. He's $6,600. Love that. You play Tom Hoagie at Tom Hoagie courses, a 12th and a 5th at the Valero in his last 2 appearances here. Yes, one was in 2021, but last year he finished 5th here. So we've seen Tom Hoagie finish 14th and 8th at the Pebble Beach AT&T, and the Amex he finished 8th. So he plays well at those courses. He plays well at this one. $6,500. Let's see what Tom Hoagie can do. Brand Snedeker finished 18th at the Valspar after teeing off in the final group. Kind of a meltdown over there. I think if he teed off in the 3rd last group, he could have easily had a top 5 finish. He was playing fantastic golf. He has a 6th and an 18th in his last 3 appearances at the Valero. So give me that. Like you mentioned, Streelman. And then Pontus Nilholm has 3 top 20s in his last 4 starts. Like, he's $6,300. He could be quite popular. Beware, you don't want to be playing a $6,300 guy when he's 10% owned, but I will definitely be rostering him in 150 lineups one way or another. So we'll see what he can get up to over there. All right, I think that's it for me in the 6K range, Kenny. We're going to look at some one and dones. I had Nikolai last week, so I've had my second place finish in one and dones now with Shane and Nikolai. Unfortunately, it hasn't been big ticket events. Where are you going with your one and done this week?
I don't know, man. I might go Keith Mitchell. He's someone I'd think about. Harmon is someone I would think about. Yellow Miraju is someone I would think about. I don't want to use anyone really high up on this one.
I think I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth. Whatever. I
might rob that.
Huh?
I might rob that.
I mean, you're
going to play the DFS. Or better.
Exactly. So you'll be high earned probably in one and done as well, but I don't give a shit. Let's go make some money for us. Yeah. I'm all for Jordan Spieth in Texas. Awesome. Sawsome, friends. Sorry to abruptly end the show in 8 more minutes, though, but we kind of didn't even rush it that much. But got to go pick up Mini Maniac. So in order to help me buy diapers, go sign up to the Model Maniac Patreon. Link in the description below. Use code Valero26 for 50% off your first month, or just get the annual package. It'll save you 2 months worth of stuff over there. Not the annual package, the annual package. That's probably the one you really want there. But use code FGD when signing up first time at DraftKings. We really appreciate them sponsoring the show. As always, let's have a great week. I'm looking forward to a fantastic week. Kenny, get us the hell out of here, friend.
1 more week to the Masters. Can't wait. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.